Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our annual general meeting. I'm so delighted so many of you were able to join us. I'm going to start by introducing our panel, and we have Sean Pertz, Deputy Chair, Richard Cryer, Honorary Treasurer, Kamini Gadhock, our Chief Executive Officer, of course, Karen Willis, Company Secretary. So, I convene the meeting. Welcome to the 70th Annual General Meeting of the Royal College of Speech and Language Therapists. For those who don't know me, I'm Mary Heritage. I'm Chair of the Board of Trustees. The calling notice for this meeting, together with the agenda, explanatory notes and proxy voting forms, were circulated to all members of RCSLT in the e-newsletter of the 22nd of September and by letter where necessary. All full members are eligible to vote at this meeting. When we do come to vote, ordinary resolutions are passed by a simple majority of votes cast.
Recording in progress.
We're going to have a test run of the online poll procedure in a moment. No apologies for absence have been received. And Zoom tells us that there are more than 20 members who are eligible to vote present, so I declare the meeting quorate. First, some housekeeping. If you've got questions, please don't use the Q&A button to pose your questions to the panel members. We will answer questions about the special resolutions as we come to each special resolution. However, if you have questions about the trustees' annual report or the annual accounts, we've allowed some time at the end for those. If we don't have time to answer your question in the live event, then we'll get back to you after the event. When you're sending chat messages, please make sure to give your full name and membership number so that we can get back to you after the event. And on the chat, we have staff on hand to help. Any technical questions can go to our lovely Jasmine, the RCSLT host, and she'll do her best to help. And we'll be monitoring the chat as we go through. All voting will be done via poll. We'll put up a practice poll in a moment so that you can see how it's done. If you might want to leave and re-enter the event at any time, just use the same link. And if you have any additional needs, please feel free to send a private chat to Jasmine and she'll do her best to help. So we move on to acceptance of the minutes of the AGM, which was the 9th of November last year. Thank you. Item 2 is the acceptance of the minutes of the AGM held on the 9th of November 2021. These have been circulated and are taken as read. I would like to sign these minutes as a correct record. May I have a proposer?
Rosalind Kyle, thank you.
RC.
Rosalind Kyle. And a seconder?
Francis Johnston, thank you.
Francis Johnston, thank you. Thank you. A majority are in favour, so I'll sign the minutes on completing of the meeting. Item 3 is the presentation, consideration and adoption of the Trustees' Annual Report 21 to 22. This has been available on the website since the beginning of September and was also sent in hard copy to those members who requested it. We now have 4 slides which highlight the key points from the impact report of the year. And you can see we've got highlights that relate to the guidance that we've developed, to the fact that we had our very first virtual conference, which was attended by record numbers of delegates. The progress we've made with our equality, diversity and inclusion work, including anti-racism workshop, which was attended by 400 members, and a disability working group and support for the Pride Network. And the progress that we've made with our EDI work. Health equalities audit, the successful influencing that has happened, especially to amend the Health and Care Act to include children, the right to rehabilitation in the Scottish Government's programme, speech, language and communications being written into the Northern Ireland mental health strategy, And we have more than 30,000 people committed to the communication access training. And then the service users who've been representing us at the United Nations Disability Conference. And this infographic gives you a taste of some of the top line numbers showing our reach and engagement across the year. If you do have any questions, please put them in the chat and we'll try to answer them at the end, or put the answers to your questions on the website after the AGM. We now take the first ordinary resolution to consider and adopt the Trustees' Annual Report for 2021 to 22. May I have a proposer, please? Andrea Robinson, thank you. And a seconder?
Janet Chambers.
Janet Chambers, thank you. There's the voting screen. Thank you. A majority are in favour and the resolution is carried. Item 4 is the presentation, consideration and adoption of the annual accounts and the auditor's reports. And I'm going to ask Richard Cryer, our honorary treasurer, to speak.
Thank you, Mary, and good afternoon, everybody. First of all, we're going to look at the college's financial objectives. As trustees of the college, the board is responsible for ensuring that the charity is solvent, well run, and able to deliver its charitable objectives. The overall aim of our financial strategy is to maintain long-term financial viability in order to achieve the objectives in the strategic plan. In order to measure performance against this overall objective, the board has approved 6 financial objectives, which are shown on the slide. All of these objectives were met during the year ended 31st of March 2022. As part of the development of the new 5-year vision for 2022 to 2027, the board has reviewed its financial objectives and regularly reviews its spending plans to ensure that its financial objectives will be met. Now we move on to the income and expenditure account for the year ended 31st of March 2022. The figures are in pounds million, as you can see. Income totaled £5.1 million, which was £100,000 more than the previous year, with growth in both membership subscriptions and commercial trading activities. Our expenditure decreased by £200,000 to £4.8 million, with savings on IT development costs and licenses. This resulted in a surplus of £300,000 before investment gains. The net return on our investment was a gain of £300,000. There was no change in the valuation of the office at White Hart Yard, and therefore the overall funds increased last year by £600,000. We now move on to looking at how our income is divided. The majority of the college's income is generated through its membership fees, and these account for 82% of the total income. A further 12% of income comes from the commercial trading activities, which include the sale of advertising space and royalties earned on subscriptions to the International Journal. The college also generates smaller amounts of income from other sources, such as events and conferences and investments. Now we'll look at expenditure in the year 2021-22. Our expenditure falls under 3 focus areas in line with our charitable objectives and our strategic plan, along with expenditure on commercial trading activities and the costs of investment management. Staffing and other general costs are allocated towards these 5 main headings. Using this split, you see that 44% of our expenditure, £2.1 million, goes towards the focus area quality practice. 19% of our expenditure, £935,000, supports focus area innovative organisation, and a further 29%, just under £1.4 million, goes towards active influencing. Expenditure related to commercial trading activities was just over £350,000, being 7% of the total expenditure, and this is predominantly the cost of producing the bulletin. Finally, £44,000, just 1% of total expenditure, was spent on investment management costs. Now I'd like to talk to you about the balance sheet for the college. First of all, you can see we had fixed assets of £4.5 million. This includes the building at White Hart Yard and also IT equipment, capitalised software development costs, and office furniture. Next, we show that we had £3.4 million of investments which were managed by external fund managers. And finally, we have our net current assets, and these comprise debtors and cash less creditors, the amounts we owe, and those have increased the net current assets by £400,000 to £1.7 million. So overall, you can see that our net assets have increased by £600,000, being the amount of the surplus for the year. The next slide deals with the annual audit. Under company law, the college's trustees are responsible for the preparation of the financial statements and for being satisfied that they give a true and fair view of the state of the charity's affairs. In preparing the financial statements, the trustees are also responsible for assessing the college's ability to continue as a going concern. The trustees have concluded that the college is in sound financial health and the auditors have no concerns to report. And with respect to the 21-22 accounts, our auditors, Hayes McIntyre, have concluded that the financial statements give a true and fair view of the state of the college's finances as at 31st of March 2022, and they've given us an unqualified audit report accordingly. We're now going to look at some of our spending plans for this current year. There's quite a lot of figures on this slide, so do bear with me. Each year, the trustees review how much they plan to spend on projects to support members and service users, either directly or indirectly. We're planning to spend £861,000 in 2022-23 on projects. And in addition to that, we have created a separate innovation fund, you will see if you look at the accounts, of £800,000, which is intended for financing future projects for the benefit of members in line with the 5-year vision. We also have in the balance sheet a fixed asset fund of £1.4 million, and this represents the amounts invested in our fixed assets. So the table here highlights the planned bigger projects. A full table is actually published in the accounts on the website, but just looking at some of the larger projects, we will continue to invest in professional guidance for members with £152,000 set aside. Research and development continues to be an area of investment with £34,000 set aside. A further £64,000 is planned to be spent on developing learning solutions and projects and products for members. £115,000 is set aside for the further development of the RCSLT online outcome tool, ROOT, better known as ROOT, yes indeed, and £50,000 is planned to be spent on projects relating to the collection and use of data to support workforce transformation. £56,000 has been set aside to support the development of regional professional networks. And finally, we continue to invest in our digital development with £166,000 planned to be spent in the current year, 22-23. Finally, I'd like to speak about membership fees. Membership fees are the single largest long-term source of income which we have. And as you will have seen, last year they accounted for 82% of the total income. Looking forward, the college aims to maintain the ongoing level of services offered to members, but it does recognise the challenges of inflation, which are currently, as everyone is aware, are running at around 10%, and the potential strain on the college's financial position should a return to the lower inflation which we enjoyed over the last few years not occur as quickly as hoped. And it is essential, of course, that the college retains a robust financial position and continues to meet its financial objectives and KPIs. And taking all this into consideration, and we had a very detailed discussion about this only yesterday at a board meeting, the board has therefore approved an average increase in membership fees of 3% for the year 23-24. And for practicing members, this equates to an additional £9 per year. And membership fees for all categories are to be published in the bulletin in January 2023. So in summary, I can report to you that the college is in sound financial health, and we continue to prepare for and respond to the challenges presented by the less benign and uncertain economic times we face. Meaning, that is, that we can continue working together to provide a voice for the profession and improve the lives of our service users. Now, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we'll try to answer them at the end, or put your questions, or put the answers to your questions on the website after the AGM. So thank you for listening to me, and I'll now pass you back to Mary.
Thank you, Richard. So we now take the second ordinary resolution to adopt the annual accounts and auditors' reports for 2021 to 22. May I have a proposer, please?
Anne Whitehorn.
Anne Whitehorn, thank you. And a seconder?
Pauline Downey.
Pauline Downey, thank you. Can we have the voting screen, please? Thank you. Thank you. Majority are in favour and I declare the resolution carried. Item 5 is to take the third ordinary resolution to appoint Hayes McIntyre LLP as our auditors for 22 to 23 and for the board to fix their remuneration. May I have a proposer, please?
Anne Whitehorn.
Anne Whitehorn. And a seconder.
Sorry. Andrea Robinson.
Andrea Robinson, thank you. Thank you. The majority are in favour and I declare that resolution carried. We now come to item 6, the ratification of appointments to the board at this AGM. At the AGM in November 2021, in line with our commitment to increasing diversity in RCSLT's leadership and governance structures, members voted to change the way we select board and committee members. The Board of Trustees established a nominations committee chaired by the Deputy Chair. The new selection process includes applications for key roles, interviews with panel members drawn from the Board of Trustees and members of the nominations committee and RCSLT members who are part of the selection panel pool. The nominations committee met to review the outcomes of the interviews and the board have approved the recommendations made. You will be asked to ratify new trustees and those who are standing for a second term today. The biographies of these trustees have been posted on the website along with the papers for the AGM, so that you could read these to inform your vote at the meeting. Jasmine has also added a link to these biographies that's in the chat box at the beginning of the meeting today. No appointments have been made during the year. However, 5 new trustees have been appointed to take office after the conclusion of this AGM, and 4 trustees have been appointed to serve a second term of office after the conclusion of this AGM. Each ratification will be taken as a separate resolution. Please would you note that on some earlier versions of the agenda for this meeting, Rosalind Rogers was wrongly listed as being appointed as a general trustee, Crest Rep. Rosalind, in fact, has been appointed to serve as the Crest Rep on the Professional Practice and Policy Committee, 3PC, and therefore we won't be presenting a resolution to ratify that appointment. So our 4th ordinary resolution is to ratify the appointment to the board of Irma Donaldson as Deputy Chair. May I have a proposer?
Janet Chambers.
Janet Chambers, thank you. And a seconder?
Angela Shimada.
Angela Shimada, thank you. Thank you. A majority are in favour and I declare the resolution carried. We will now take the 5th ordinary resolution to ratify the appointment to the board of Darren Hansji as General Trustee. May I have a proposer?
Leslie Cavalli.
Leslie Cavalli, thank you. And a seconder?
Vicky Baker.
Vicky Baker, thank you. Thank you. A majority are in favour. I declare that resolution carried. We now take the 6th ordinary resolution to ratify the appointment to the board of Eve Baird as General Trustee. May I have a proposer?
Vicky Baker.
Vicky Baker, thank you. And a seconder?
Rosalind Kyle.
Rosalind Kyle, thank you. Thank you. A majority are in favour. I declare that resolution carried. We'll now take the 7th ordinary resolution to ratify the appointment to the board of Angela Shimada as a General Trustee. May I have a proposer, please? Pauline Downey, thank you. And a seconder?
Francis Johnston.
Francis Johnston, thank you. Thank you. A majority are in favour. I declare the resolution carried. We will now take the 8th ordinary resolution to ratify the appointment to the board of Francis Johnston as General Trustee. May I have a proposer?
Adrian Cave.
Adrian
Cave.
Hay, thank you. And a seconder? Jan Barselman, thank you. Thank you. The majority are in favour. I declare the resolution carried. We'll now take the 9th ordinary resolution to ratify the appointment to the board of Marion Brady as General Trustee for Research and Development. May I have a proposer?
Janet Chambers.
Janet Chambers, thank you. And a seconder?
Angela Shimada.
Angela Shimada, thank you. Thank you. A majority are in favour. I declare the resolution carried. We will now take the 10th ordinary resolution to ratify the appointment to the board of Helen Robinson as country representative for England North. May I have a proposer?
Vicky Baker.
Vicky Baker. Thank you. And a seconder?
Adrian Cave.
Adrian Cave.
Adrian Cave. Thank you. Thank you. A majority are in favour and I declare the resolution carried. We will now take the 11th ordinary resolution to ratify the appointment to the board of Vicky Baker as country representative for England South. May I have a proposer?
Rosalind Kyle.
Rosalind Kyle, thank you. And a seconder?
Eve Baird.
Eve Baird, thank you. Thank you. A majority are in favour. I declare the resolution carried. We will now take the 12th ordinary resolution to ratify the appointment to the board of Pauline Downey as country representative for Scotland. May I have a proposer?
Leslie Cavalli.
Leslie Cavalli, thank you. And a seconder?
Andrea Robinson.
Andrea Robinson, thank you. Thank you. A majority are in favour. I declare the resolution carried. Sorry. We now come to item 7, the report of the composition of the board for the period 2022 to 23. The composition of the board for the period of this period is therefore the chair, Dr. Sean Pert, deputy chair, Irma Donaldson, honorary treasurer, Richard Cryer, lay member digital, John Humphrey, lay trustee, human resources and organisational development, Liesl Burrow, country representatives for England North, Helen Robinson, for England South, Vicky Baker, for Scotland, Pauline Downey, for Northern Ireland, Rosalind Kyle, and for Wales, that's vacant. General Trustee Eve Baird, General Trustee Darren Hansgy, General Trustee Francis Johnston, General Trustee Angela Schmader, and General Trustee Janet Chambers. Trustee for Research and Development, Marion Brady. The following outgoing trustees will be finishing their term of office at the end of this AGM: Rebecca Palmer, Anne Whitehorn, Andrea Robinson, Leslie Cavalli. And in addition, I'd like to mention Lisa Chess, who stood down from the board earlier in the year. Sincere thank yous to all of you. Good luck and best wishes for your future. It's been an absolute privilege working with you. And so thank you now for the opportunity to say a few words as I reach the end of my tenure as chair of the Board of Trustees for RCSLT. This is my final event as chair, and what a difference the past 2 years have been. So much of my term has taken place online, but more than that, it's been a groundbreaking era for RCSLT. As a professional body, we've continued to promote clinical excellence, to connect and support and resource one another, to advocate for those whose voices aren't often heard in society, especially with those who hold power and budgets. Right back at the start of my term in early 2021, we held a mirror up to the RCSLT board in the form of a report from Kiki Mori, and she told us some uncomfortable truths. The board of RCSLT appears to its members as elitist, exclusive, old-fashioned, well, fusty-dusty is I think what she said. Surely not us. Well, yes, an uncomfortable message from our members. No wonder the board membership had remained white and female and mature for so long. Well, we acted fast. A 5-year vision, changes to the memorandum and articles, a new process for the nomination and selections to replace our old elections, promoting diversity, a new vision and a set of core values that we hold one another to account for. And now, thanks to the incredible hard work of Kamini, Karen, Sean, and many, many others, we have an outcome, a new and more diverse board that we've just ratified. Certainly a historic day for us. It's the next chapter for RCSLT. It will bring in new blood and new ways of doing things. Responsibility for inclusion sits equally on the shoulders of every single board and committee member. I'm really proud of what's been achieved, and I'm hugely grateful to the fantastic and generous and brave trustees who've walked this path with me. There's another landmark approaching for RCSLT. Kamini has been our leader since 2000, and it would be remiss of me to let her last AGM pass without acknowledging her leadership and her grit over the last 2 years in particular. Those close to Kamini know how hard she works to lead her teams and indeed the whole profession. Her sphere of concern reaches way beyond speech and language therapists and the people we serve. In this last period, she's broken new ground for the safety of health professionals in their rights to appropriate protection at work. And this will have an impact that goes way beyond the UK and the NHS. We're making great progress in finding a successor, not a replacement for Kamini, someone to lead RCSLT into the next chapter, whatever that brings. Final interviews took place this week, and Sean will soon be sharing the news about the successful candidate. So now it's time for me to hand over the stewardship of RCSLT to Sean Pert and Irma Donaldson, the incoming chair and deputy. I really look forward to seeing the RCSLT continue to grow under their inspiring leadership. I wish them both every success for their years in office. Thank you to you both. And so finally, it gives me great pleasure to pass the chain of office to Sean. He's already demonstrated his leadership in relation to our equality and diversity ambitions and shown his commitment as deputy chair. And so I know that we as members will be in very safe hands. Congratulations, Sean. And then I'm going to shuffle over with the beautiful chain of office and pass that to Sean, who's sitting next to me.
I know this in-person thing is very strange, isn't it? When you've seen people for such a long time on Zoom. Thank you, Mary, for those really kind words. And I'd just like to pay tribute to Mary for what has probably been the strangest time in recent memory, holding together. Grace under pressure is the phrase that keeps popping into my mind when I think of Mary and her leadership during this very strange time of the pandemic. It's been so lovely to meet the board and Mary herself in 3D, as it were. It's really odd to think that when I qualified, I wrote an article for the Bulletin, and I looked it up, and it is called A Review of the Internet. Little did I know that I would be here at the AGM online via the internet all this time later. It's a real honour to take on the chair of the Royal College. As Mary said, it's an incredibly exciting time. I have the great honour of having Kamini as the CEO as she moves on to her next stage, and I'm really excited to finish off the hard work that she's keen to do and to welcome a new CEO, as Mary mentioned. So thank you to all the trustees, both outgoing and incoming. It's going to be a really exciting time of change for the profession, but this is the best profession in the world. I have complete confidence in our members and our board and Kamini and the staff. So I can't wait to get started, and thank you all very much indeed. Okay, so if there are no further businesses by leave, but are there any questions? No, no questions, thank you. In that case, I declare this meeting closed. Thank you very much.